Yo, what's up, cking? Let's check to this video, which talks about the insane irony of Bimbo Feminism.
Video is going
Well, I don't really know what it's about, but like, let's find out, I guess.
to be about the various philosophical problems with a growing branch of feminist theory, which can
I'm guessing it's about something like
only best
the woke people are pro-Bimbo.
be described by giving it the title Bimbo Feminism, where a lady objectifying and hypersexualizing herself combined with immature low IQ behavior and an irresponsible lifestyle is
Low IQ, okay.
somehow being sold to young women as quote
AI music is better than this.
unquote empowering by spicing it up with
I wonder how many likes did it get?
a girl boss attitude and random bits of misandry. As completely ridiculous and kind of silly as that sound, it's actually completely serious, and it's also kind of a little bit fascinating. Because it completely turns normal feminist theory and philosophy on its head, where instead of a woman gaining quote-unquote empowerment by being treated as equals, or at the very least as standard feminist theory pretends to be that, Bimbo Feminism takes a completely different approach, or as one of my commenters on X
Okay, like what? Turning women into whores is a
put it,
good thing or what?
I can signal as much dumb bimbo energy as possible and get away with it because of the sexual power I hold over you. Or really just society as a whole.
What is that, 2 likes, bro? Double a comment.
Or in other words, bimbo feminism seeks quote-unquote empowerment, again, by maximizing the female leniency bias, where women are socially granted a greater level of pseudo-freedom
So, by acting like babies, they get empowerment?
by virtue of
Basically like Emir? Or...
pretty privilege and thus getting away with having less responsibility, reduced expectations, and of course significantly reduced consequences for one's actions. Now, the obvious irony and contradictions that one could immediately see in bimbo feminism is that it effectively concedes that men and women are not the same, and doesn't really seek or claim to want equality, but is instead more or less an ideology of I want to do whatever I want, ethics be darned, effectively seeking an endless party girl lifestyle, as opposed to growing up and being taken seriously in society as anything more than just a silly, mindless sex doll, effectively. Thus
Crazy, bro.
contradicting everything feminists would normally claim to stand for. But here's the
Okay, but if you have to go so fucking down bad to look like a sex doll...
really interesting thing. That's actually not the biggest contradiction here.
I mean, that just means you're fucking... Like,
in fact, I would argue that bimbo feminism is sadly a logical conclusion of feminism as it originally started, rather than just being a recent fad, and that in many ways it was doomed to fall into this almost idiocracy-like state from the very beginning.
I mean, I guess it's good because, like, maybe you can use that to deceive men and make money from that, but, like, at the same time, like, looks don't mean that you're fucking low IQ though, so I have no idea what the fuck that shit means, bro.
As a result of the fact that feminists started very early on seeking equity rather than equality. And so just like any other ideology that focuses on equality of outcome, eventually falling into the pit of wah wah wah, I want free stuff, it's really just the logical conclusion. But another thing just beyond the obvious equity fallacy problem is that when an ideology focuses its
I want free stuff. Wait, what you mean, like, from government? I mean, if you pay taxes, then yeah, you should get, like, support.
thought towards this kind of goal, it tends to lose sight of everything else. It loses,
For example, like, if you pay the taxes, you should, like, also be able to get, like, scholarship from tax money, because if you do well with your grades, of course you're gonna get money, you know?
any kind of coherent consistency. It just kind of
But I mean, I don't know, bro. Maybe the USA doesn't use their tax money like good, bro. Like they don't use it for education and healthcare, I guess.
bumbles along forward without even realizing when they've stepped on a landmine. To show you what I mean by this, I'm gonna go over a recent music video that kinda highlights the main issues with bimbo feminism, and see if you can spot this much more interesting contradiction before I point it out. This new music video called House Tour, released by Sabrina Carpenter, and how it kind of perfectly encapsulates the bimbo feminist mentality in all of its anti-intellectual glory. Now, half because this music video is garbage, and half because I don't want to get copyright striked, rather than clipping it, I'm just gonna give
Copyright striked?
you all a brief synopsis
I mean, if you get copyright striked, you can like counter it, I guess.
so you don't have to watch it or listen to it. So it starts out with Carpenter and a couple of her friends showing up to a McMansion in a party van. She steps out with blood on her stilettos from stomping on some simp, I suppose. They, dressed in standard low IQ thought gear, then gleefully break into said mansion. Inside, she then begins to sing a typical safe edgy song about having sex, number 10,094,689E. And I promise you that I do not exaggerate at all when I say that AI music is unironically.
So it's a. What he's saying is, she made a song about woman wanting sex, talking about genitals. I mean, sounds, I guess,
superior to this standard issue, big record label, worthless pop schlop. And so as boring generic song about having sex continues,
very slop.
the girls proceed to throw shit around, party and play, while of course showing their bodies off in increasingly sexually provocative poses, and also seem to wear less and less clothing.
Bro, like, okay, but wearing less clothing doesn't even matter because people in like rap music fucking show women with no clothing almost.
That also somehow
half naked woman, bro. Damn.
Gets more and more
It's
expensive.
so bad to show half naked woman, bro. Holy shit, bro. How dare you?
Video continues. The girls then
like, it's been a thing forever, bro. Like, bro, what?
Proceed to steal a bunch of stuff from the mansion, run back to their party van, drive away, and run over some random guy. And their reaction to just having murdered a random dude is to just continue partying and driving on with the.
Like, obviously, they don't target children as their audience, bro. They target fucking either teenagers or like, I don't know, bro, Gen Z, I guess.
The absolute stupidest looks on their face possible. And that's pretty much it. That's the video. And yes, the song really is just a metaphor for begging Chad to come over and pound her. That's pretty much it. There's no deeper meaning behind it. Aside from how it just showcases again the ideology of bimbo feminism, which if I'm being honest here, probably isn't an ideology that anyone will actually admit to believing in, but it is definitely a real ideology. As many famous philosophers have said, everyone believes in some kind of philosophy or ideology, regardless of whether or not they know that they do. The question is really more or less of whether or not someone has actually taken the time to self-examine it, which of course bimbo feminists have not. Because as I mentioned earlier, there is another very huge contradiction here, and it's something that is very much at the center of Carpenter's little music video. And that contradiction can be seen when you pay attention to the fact that it is, again, just a song about her begging Chad to come over and pound her. But of course, that's not the same guy as the guy she and the girls run over at the end of the video, is it? No, of course, instead they're singing these praises to the owner of this mansion. The concept of the high-value man and the low-value man. Because of course, that's another way that bimbo feminism maximizes the female fun aspect and said endless party girl lifestyle. They don't want to be objectified and pounded by just any old random guy. No, of course it needs to be a rich and powerful man in some way or another. It needs to be a high-value alpha male. Whereas the man that they run over at the end of the video is of course being portrayed as the low-value man, the expendable male, the invisible man that in the bimbo feminist framework of society should just be treated as if he doesn't exist, and thus can just be thrown away like trash. And there's a very big extra contradiction in this that very few people seem to notice or even talk about really. You see, the issue here is that this mentality...
I mean, if you go for a fish bigger than yourself... then obviously there's gonna be like power dynamic in it, and because most likely the man is gonna use the woman more than the woman could use the man.
This framework of society,
if you're going for someone better than you,
that bimbo feminism ultimately creates, this separation of men into losers and winners, low value and high value, ultimately what it does when you scale this to society is it's just
because no one is actually like truly equal. Like there's always a power dynamic in everything, bro.
Incentivizing men to compete. Because from the male perspective, you of course don't want to be the loser who gets run over by these girls. No, you want to be the rich guy who owns the mansion, who gets to have fun with these girls. And the thing is, that creates a society where men,
I mean, I guess, but that is still very shallow,
have a greater incentive to be successful. Which means that it's ultimately admitting that humanity to some degree is a tournament species, and admitting that
humanity is a tournament species. What?
There is...
Bro, the animal kingdom is a tournament species, bro. Everything is a tournament species, bro. It's always been competition, bro. What?
A very
like, Duh.
Real incentive structure in this society for patriarchy to exist in the first place. In fact, not
Insane.
only is it admitting that men have a greater incentive to aim for the top than women do, it's actually
No, it's both, actually.
actively
Why would you think that women don't want to be at the top either? What?
encouraging that incentive. And
Like, why do you think women do OnlyFans, bro? For money, obviously.
that is the additional contradiction, a very silly twist of irony.
And how to get to the top, like, as fast as possible? You sell your body, I guess.
In which the bimbo feminist ultimately bends the knee towards the patriarchal system that feminists ordinarily would be claiming to stand against. And thus the transformation of feminism into just a mirror image of the manosphere that they claim to dislike is thus complete. And the thing is, this is really the direction that standard feminism has been going towards for a very long time now. If you look at places where feminist ideology tends to be pretty popular, like Reddit 2X chromosomes or Reddit female dating strategy, you will see this concept of the high value and low value male thrown about all over the place. And of course with it, the obvious reality that men and women value different things. Because again, as obvious as
I mean, obviously, women value emotions and men value
it's
anything that is actually rational, because women are irrational.
sounds, it needs to be stated, men and women are not the same, and that's kind of the issue with
How's that the issue, bro?
feminist philosophy. Feminism
I mean, I guess so, because yeah, feminism does mean that you want to make them equal, but like at the same time, you will never gonna make like the one gender biologically more equal to another, because that is not how it works, bro.
honestly, in my opinion,
Like, both have their own roles.
at least, could have been a successful philosophy if it trashed tabula rasa from the start. But because it doesn't, because it tries to have the benefits of tabula rasa without the consequences, it ultimately doomed itself to this pit of incoherence. Because what men value in women is more or less the female nature, health, beauty, and the
Yeah, the nature of being able to nurture, you know?
ability to nurture. But
Yep.
women value the man's ability to move a mountain, with the high value man being the man who can move that mountain, and the low value man being the man who cannot. That's a bit of an oversimplification, but it's ultimately what it comes down to. When describing a high value man, it's almost always in how he positively interacts with society around him, in ways that bring value to his woman. And you can even see this in this relatively popular post from FDS. If a girl's greatest source of joy is traveling, getting overnight trains, and waking up in another country, exploring new cities on foot, making friends, etc., then the high-value man is the man who can make that happen for her, the man who can move mountains. Whereas men, we generally just want a pleasant, fun woman to be around. We generally don't expect women to bend reality for us.
I mean, yeah, obviously you don't expect women to truly provide anything to you except like maybe taking care of the food or baby, I guess.
Idea of a high-value woman is just a fun, intelligent,
But like, unless if you go for like sugar mommies, because like,
beautiful,
as you know, women are actually more
companion, and then we do the rest. And
like, women will give more to others than a men will, because women are like biologically like people pleasers, bro.
there's
Like more than men, at least.
really nothing wrong with that. The point of the concept of the divine feminine and the divine masculine is that they are complementary to each other rather than competitive. Instead, competing internally
So pleasing people is feminine.
with itself rather
The colder you are, the more masculine you are.
than the opposite. And feminists' failure to fully understand this has been something that they've been running into as a core problem for a very long time. Because standard feminist theory demands equity rather than equality, and equity cannot be achieved without force, feminists have always strongly relied on the force and dominance ability of the men at
Well, yeah, but how much equity is enough, though?
the top to enforce
If you only care about money, then when is like, what is the limit? Like, how much money do you want, you know, like, because what is the percentage of people actually wanting to be a billionaire? I mean, because people want to be millionaires, but like nobody actually wants to be a billionaire.
the praxis of their ideology.
Unless if you just want to hoard money for whatever reason.
And thus, feminists, despite what they think and despite what they claim, have always been major proponents of patriarchy. And they've also always been massive statists, relying entirely on the force of the state to get what it wants, or as I've called out in some of my other videos, feminism in many ways is really just gender socialism. And you can really see how this extends beyond bimbo feminism by just looking at England right now. British schools implementing anti-toxic masculinity training. But this is, of course, just enforced by the state, with a man at the head encouraging it. As
or like it's just
again, feminist theory in
something very pointless that people from Twitter talk about.
Entirely relies on patriarchy. The absurdity is thus laid completely bare. Here you have the patriarchy trying to tell young men not to join the patriarchy because patriarchy is bad, except when women want the patriarchy, which is necessary for the patriarchy to explain the badness of the patriarchy, so you better aim to be a better man, aka join the patriarchy. So it's just a complete and total obvious and ridiculous contradiction when you think about it for more than a few minutes. You see,
yeah, it's very hypocritical.
The problem here that midwits like Starmer refuse to understand is that the so-called toxic masculinity issue with young men following Andrew Tate, those men are...
What is toxic masculinity actually? Is wanting to live a better life. Toxic masculinity is valuing money, like being a better person. Black pill, is that toxic masculinity? Is taking care of yourself. Toxic masculinity is calling people that don't take care of themselves, like shaming them. Is that fucking toxic masculinity? That how, like, bro, what? That is like just common sense, bro.
Just following the incentives that were created by feminist ideology injecting itself into politics for the last 60 years or so in the
if you can't handle the truth, I mean, that is on you, brother.
first place.
The fuck?
But of course they can't admit
it is not people's fault that, like, you cannot handle the truth.
That the problem is a problem of their own making, and so this clown show is the best thing that they can come up with, while completely ignoring the real root of the problem, despite the fact that everyone can clearly see that that problem has already reached its absurd conclusions. Bimbo feminism. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Don't forget to like...
If you have anything to add to this, I mean, you can comment down below or join me Discord to debate or anything, cause I mean, yeah. And yeah, drop a like, drop a sub, and thanks for watching, guys. If you wanna join my Discord, it's either in my description or in my bio. So yeah, guys, bye.